For some women, family isn't everything.
It takes motivation. It takes some planning. But most of all, it takes a lack of feeling.
Blood ties mean nothing.
She's just in the grip of this compulsive need to administer death.
Age is no barrier.
Wasn't there some option? Wasn't there some alternative to killing your own children?
Nor is love.
The people that she killed were people that were close to her.
These deadly women dispose of those closest to them, quietly killing with hearts of stone. New York City in the 1860s. Home to police officer Edward Struck, his wife Lydia, and their 6 children.
Struck was somebody who obviously was struggling to support this large brood.
What are you reading?
They manage the best they can until a public scandal takes away their livelihood.
Edward, dear. You're home.
I am.
You said you had something to talk to me about.
I have. Not good news.
What is it?
I have lost my employment.
Struck's career as a police officer came to a very abrupt end.
Edward, how did this happen?
I don't know. They say it was an impropriety.
An impropriety? What does
He
that
was accused of cowardice, and he was fired from the force.
mean? God. Well, Edward, what's going to happen to us?
I don't know.
The shame is too much for Edward.
How are we going to eat?
He plunged into a depression and became increasingly really a kind of housebound invalid.
Who is going to feed us?
He started to become a heavy burden on the family.
A burden his wife Lydia does not wish to carry. She has a plan. A way Edward can help ease the load. His life insurance policy.
When Lydia, as a young adult, faced adversity, her solution was to kill him.
Edward's tea will have an extra ingredient today. Arsenic. Easily obtained in the 1860s.
Lydia had no trouble at all just going to the local druggist and getting very, very, very large amount of arsenic.
Here's some tea.
This toxic drug is also simple to administer. But it is by no means a gentle death.
They look like they're in distress, and they are. The inner part of the stomach starts to slough away. And there is great irritation. There's bleeding. Then they get diarrhea. And then they start to get convulsions following that.
Edward Struck probably suffered more than Jack the Ripper's victims. Jack the Ripper murdered his victims very, very swiftly.
No one suspects foul play from a wife and mother.
This would have been a good way to cause a death, and to cause it unsuspectingly, because it could mimic consumption.
One death is not enough for Lydia. Now, she has a hunger for more than money.
I think Lydia had developed a taste for murder.
And those closest to her are the most in danger. Children rely on their mother for nourishment. But tonight, Lydia is serving death. Lethal doses of arsenic.
Poisoning is a common method of homicide that we see women involved in. They can be close to the person, feed them food, or get them a drink as if they care about them, when in fact they've just put a nail in their coffin.
Lydia starts with the most vulnerable.
So glad you came. Please check my baby first.
Certainly. Let me take a look.
Her taste for murder has developed into an unhealthy appetite.
Sorry.
She enjoyed wielding the power of life or death over another person.
Would you check my son?
How long has he been sick?
2, 3 hours. He's very painful.
He certainly is very pale.
Even if that other person was her own innocent children.
Once Lydia starts killing, she can't stop.
She's become addicted to murder.
Her own children. It would have been easier and certainly more moral for her to simply give them up to an orphanage.
All of it? Drink all of it for me. That's it.
In Victorian times, it's believed the gentler sex is incapable of serial murders.
You're seeing somebody who is driven, by extremely deep and deranged and perverted sadistic impulses.
Lydia Sherman changes perceptions forever.
We don't know exactly what made Lydia tick. What we do know is that by the time she was a young adult, a young mother,
Very good for your cough.
she was a sociopath.
In less than 2 years, Lydia Sherman's entire family is dead without anyone suspecting murder.
One would think that would have been enough. She was free of her family. She was free to do anything she wanted now. But she chose to marry again.
New York City in 1871. The merry widow, Lydia Sherman, marries again. wealthy Connecticut farmer Dennis Hurlburt has no idea he's in love with a serial killer.
Male serial murderers tend to prey on strangers, whereas female serial murderers tend to prey on acquaintances and loved ones and family members, people they have some sort of intimate relationship with.
The happiness she displayed outwardly to the world about her new husband was completely false.
Just months into the marriage, Dennis is dead.
She married him for his money and planned to kill him all along.
Lydia inherits his substantial wealth. She has money and freedom, but it is not enough.
With serial murders, of course, is once they commit one murder, they sometimes develop this taste for it.
She is now addicted to killing.
Every time she got away with it, it bought her next murder.
Lydia has no trouble finding new victims. Next is widower Horatio Sherman.
Mrs. Holbert, Horatio Sherman is my name.
Hello, Mr. Sherman.
She enters his home as nanny to his 2 young children.
For me that you make a mighty fine housekeeper.
One of the most frightening aspects of these psychopathic killers is the extent to which they can simulate
We'd be honored.
normal human reactions and behavior.
Horatio soon falls for Lydia's charm.
She then married her final husband, and the one who, gave her the name by which she is best known, Lydia Sherman.
But Lydia is not happy sharing the home with Horatio's children. She resorts to old, bad habits. First, she kills little Frankie, then Ada,
For Lydia, killing took on a nature of its own. It became a method whereby she dealt with problems.
Horatio, give me the glass. Pull yourself together. Turn away. Turn away.
Her solution wasn't to leave herself. It wasn't to talk things out. It was to kill them.
her heartbroken husband turns to alcohol.
Horatio, I'm so sorry.
Just leave me be. Please, go now.
It is a fatal mistake.
There's no indication that Sherman ever felt any sort of twinge of guilt or remorse.
Sorry. We'll be soon. I'll leave you alone.
That actually is one of the defining characteristics of a psychopathic personality, is a complete absence of a conscience.
But this is the last time Lydia will enjoy the pleasure of killing. The family doctor orders an autopsy. Massive doses of arsenic are discovered. In 1872, Lydia is arrested and convicted of her husband's murder. The next year, she confesses to killing 3 husbands and 7 children. Lydia Sherman is sentenced to life in prison. The nation is stunned.
She was very, very notorious. There were ballads written about her. There were nursery rhymes sung about her. They made Lydia Sherman really into a kind of huge criminal celebrity.
The Queen of Poison introduces the world to the horrific concept of the female serial killer.
Thank goodness Lydia was caught and taken away from society, because I don't believe she ever would have stopped poisoning people. It was in her blood, so to speak. She liked it. She knew it was wrong. She did it anyway. And there's an endless supply of potential victims.
The birth of a baby is a happy occasion.
Everything seemed to be perfectly normal.
But this joyous event is marred by a strange tension.
There was something amiss in her makeup.
This new mother has prayed for a boy because in her mind, girls are not wanted.
The way she saw it, that child's presence was ruining her marriage.
The town of Brighton, Illinois, 1981. Young Paula Sims sets up house with her new husband, Rob. They seem like an average working-class couple.
A factory worker and his wife trying to get a piece of the American dream, buying a house, having a family, and it all sounded perfectly normal.
5 years later, there is a problem. It should be a happy occasion. The birth of their daughter, Lorelei. But Robert senses something wrong.
Paula was heard early after the delivery of Lorelei, in essence, apologizing to Robert.
Way to go.
I'm sorry.
Paula has her heart set on a boy.
But we wanted a boy.
You gotta go.
There's no joy for this first-time mom.
She had a girl instead of a boy. This caused Paula to have serious postpartum depression, accompanied by high anxiety. This is a clinical chemical imbalance that comes over them. Women that are clinically depressed, postpartum depression, should not be taking care of their babies alone.
Paula has a plan to regain her happiness. A plan that requires a heart of stone.
Even though Paula loved her baby girl, she saw only one answer to her problem. And it was to eliminate the source of the pain.
Tonight in the Sims house, bath time is going to be different. No girls allowed. In 1981, young mother Paula Sims is suffering postpartum depression. She can't cope and has an unthinkable solution.
Paula let her baby drown in the bathtub. She said that she thought about going back and stopping it, but then another part of her would say, no, this has to happen. She was apparently very, very conflicted about killing this child. Nevertheless, she did it.
Paula takes her daughter's body out of the house and thinks up an alibi.
Paula Sims claimed that someone had come in to her house. She was asleep downstairs. The child was in a crib. The person came down the steps, grabbed the child, ran up the steps, and ran down the driveway and disappeared.
Illinois police criminal investigator Jim Bivens is on the scene within hours of the reported abduction.
She was remorseful, but it didn't look like, to me, a sincere, honest remorse, especially when a child's abducted from you.
But what's the motive for abducting a tiny baby?
No calls about a ransom or you did this to me, any revenge type involved in it. It got to the point with just the way things were, we figured we'd better start searching right at the house.
It didn't take long. Just 100 yards from the house, they find the tiny remains of baby Lorelei. With no witnesses, no evidence, no arrest is made.
Shortly after the body was found, the Simses left the house and never returned, except to move their belongings after they sold the house.
The Sims move to the city of Alton and start again. They soon have another child, a boy. Paula has what she wants.
I'm pregnant.
But then, another surprise pregnancy.
I thought you'd be happy.
They had agreed not to have any more children. And it's a girl. By the spring of 1989, the pressure of coping with 2 young children is too much for unstable Paula.
She was probably suffering from postpartum depression, and she was medicating herself with a lot of marijuana and alcohol. And nothing really worked, except to get rid of the little baby girl.
Tonight, there will be no bedtime stories in the Sims home.
It takes about 2 minutes to suffocate an infant that way. 2 minutes is a very long time to hold your hand across your daughter's mouth. That's just a horrible thing. Wasn't there some option? Wasn't there some alternative to killing your own children?
But for Paula, there is only one solution. And only one crazy alibi.
Couldn't believe it, especially when they told me the scenario as to how it allegedly went down, and it was almost identical.
Paula? Paula!
Again, Paula blames an intruder.
The only difference that I remember, in Alton, she supposedly got hit in the head.
Where are the kids?
Kitchen.
This time, she claims a blow to the head knocks her out before her baby is abducted.
Where's Heather?
In her bassinet.
No, she's not.
There was a lot of skepticism in the beginning. We tried to treat the case as much as a kidnapping as possible, but we never discounted the fact that the first case remained open.
4 days later, on the other side of Alton, Heather's body is found. There's something very strange about it.
The body was found to be in near perfect condition, no signs of decomposition, almost as if she had just died.
A medical examination soon discovers why.
The body had been frozen over some extended period.
Paula has failed to fool police that her baby has been held captive for days. And an everyday trash bag will be her downfall.
That trash bag that we recovered her body in turned out to be a key piece of evidence for us in terms of forensics. The FBI were able to match the perforations and the striations that run through the bag from the mill and matched up those bags with a roll of curbside brand trash bags that was inside of Robert and Paula's home.
Faced with all the evidence, Paula Sims finally confesses to murdering both her daughters. In 1990, she is sentenced to life in prison without parole.
No one can ever understand why a mother would kill one of their children, let alone two.
Paula is not dangerous to the general population walking around, living their lives. Paula was only dangerous to her girl children.
Lumberton, North Carolina, 1970. A common household tragedy.
Thomas had been smoking in bed and started the fire by himself.
He burns to death in his own bed.
Everyone felt so badly for poor Velma. Her husband burned up in this fire.
38-year-old widow, Velma Burke, slowly recovers from her loss. But 3 years later, tragedy strikes her new partner.
Nobody understood what was wrong with him. He already did have health problems. His lungs were shot. He was diabetic. When he died, again, Velma was a sympathetic widow.
Is Velma cursed? Everyone thinks so. Indeed, Velma has known suffering since she was young.
Velma had a dreadful childhood. Her father was an alcoholic. He was abusive. There was so much wrong. You knew she was going to come out of that childhood as damaged goods.
Like many abused children, Velma tries to mask the pain with drugs.
Velma started using prescription drugs and abusing prescription drugs.
She's soon an addict, and doctor shops to get prescriptions.
Velma had a lot of emotional problems and wasn't getting the psychiatric help that she needed.
Without professional help, her addiction gets worse. And Velma becomes desperate for money.
Eventually, Velma got into the same problem many addicts do. She needed to steal to get money to pay for her habit.
Velma! Velma! Yes, Mom? There's a check missing out of my checkbook.
I think you've probably just forgotten and you've
She starts stealing from her mother.
No, Velma.
Velma was addicted to drugs.
Mama, I'm sure you did.
Drugs that would cause her to have wild mood swings. And Velma was a thief.
I'm going to the bank about it.
I really don't think that's necessary, do you?
It was a very, very dangerous combination.
Velma is a desperate addict who has developed a unique coping mechanism: murder.
I should take over the care of my mother now.
She needed money. She didn't want to get caught. She needed the money to medicate because of the pain that she had.
I bought you some soup.
I can't eat.
I'll make it better in no time.
The whole thing became a vicious cycle for her.
You always say homemade is best.
The weapon of choice is arsenic.
Come on. Come on home. That's it. Okay. Take it slow. Just a little sip.
Poisoning became a way of trying to deal with a problem that she didn't know how else to deal with.
All right. You have a little rest and we'll try again later, huh?
With arsenic, it's very simple to drag the process out. You just give them not quite enough until it all accumulates in your system and they get sicker and sicker and die.
No one suspects Velma.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Because arsenic symptoms mimic normal ailments of the elderly. Velma doesn't get caught for murder, but she does for check fraud. After a short jail term in 1975, she's free to start again.
Montgomery, I have some lovely warm soup for you.
She got a job caring for an elderly man. And his wife was a bit younger than he was, but she had her health problems too.
But Velma also restarts her drug habit. She needs money.
It is an honor and a privilege.
And she's living with easy targets.
Anyone around her that made her angry or frustrated or threatened her existence, her freedom of revealing that she was a thief, was in danger of Velma's wrath.
There you go.
Within a year, Montgomery Edwards is dead. One month later, Dolly also dies.
Murder became a maladaptive behavior for Velma. But it worked. And every time she did it, she got away with it for years.
Velma's circle of death is far from over. In the 1970s, in Lumberton, North Carolina, the people close to Velma Barfield keep turning up dead. Unsuspecting family believe Velma is cursed. But in truth, she's addicted to prescription drugs, and to buy them, she kills. In 1977, Velma meets Stuart Taylor.
He was, by all accounts, a nice young man. They had a good relationship initially. It wasn't long before Velma moved in with Stuart and they were living together.
Stuart has no idea who the real Velma is. When he finds a letter from a prison inmate to his girlfriend,
Honey, what you do?
he's shocked.
Honey, you never told me about this.
What?
You never told me you were in prison.
What are you doing?
What do you mean, what am I doing? Why are you keeping secrets from me?
This is my...
You can tell me these things. Why are you holding back?
I don't want to go there. It's just...
He was outraged. She did not tell him about her imprisonment.
I'm gonna tell everybody about you and your secrets.
What are you talking about?
I don't know
Don't you dare.
He threatened to expose her, as it were, to other people.
I'm out of here.
Wait, you get back here. What are you talking about? This is your...
I don't trust you anymore. I'm out of here.
You, get out!
That was a triggering event for the sort of flood of Velma's life history crashing down on her.
When Velma is stressed, her prescription drugs are not enough. She needs to end the source of her pain.
She was frightened, and she fell back into her old habits. Rather than leave, she did what she'd always done when she got into a jam or frustrated. She murdered.
But this is one stress release too many. This time, family don't pity Velma. They accuse her. An autopsy of her fourth victim confirms suspicions.
They found the effects of arsenic in his internal organs, and they knew how he had died. That was the beginning of the end for Velma Barfield.
Faced with a watertight murder charge and the prospect of more to come, an interesting thing happens. Velma Barfield confesses to not 4 murders, but 6. Her first husband, Thomas Burke, didn't leave his cigarette burning. Velma set him on fire. And her frail second husband, another poison victim. The surprises don't stop there. Sentenced to death, Velma is locked away from the prescription drugs that fueled her killing. She becomes the angel of death row.
The people in the prison found that she was a really good counselor for disturbed young women. And they would often put the most disturbed young women in cells next to Velma, knowing that she would soothe them.
Could Velma ever make up for the 6 lives she took? Only she knows. On November 2nd, 1984, Velma Barfield is executed by lethal injection.
She could have become a teacher, a counselor, a pastor. She could have spent her life doing good works instead of hurting people.
These deadly women murdered those closest to them. Lydia Sherman disposed of 10 of her family, including her own children. Paula Sims quietly murdered her unwanted baby girls. And for Velma Barfield, killing became a way to relieve stress. All 3 killed loved ones with careful planning and hearts of stone.